Well, good afternoon, everyone. Just in case there is anybody live watching, I'll just announce my name is Councillor Russ McPherson. I'm the chair of the Civic Affairs, and this meeting is taking place at 5:30 p.m. on the 13th of May 2004. If I could just ask councillors to announce their own names, that would be great. If we could start from Councillor Robertson and work our way around. Thank you.
Councillor Robertson, here.
Patrick Shield, here. Councillor Davey, here.
Councillor Bennett, here.
Councillor Young, here.
Thank you very much. I have one apology, and that was from the independent person, Rob Bennett. And may I ask for any declaration of interest, if anybody has any? As normal rules, ladies and gentlemen, you can, of course, declare those at any time throughout the meeting at your leisure. So none at the moment. Thank you so much. And that just takes us to item 3, which are the minutes of the previous meeting on the 7th of February 2024. Are there any comments, amendments, or otherwise to those minutes? Silence assumes assent in that case. I'll start on those minutes at the end of this meeting. Thank you. Public questions, that's item 4. We did have a public question, but that has now been withdrawn, and the questioner will not now be with us on this occasion. So we have no known public questions at this time. And what I'm going to do with the items 5, 6 and 7 on this agenda, Councillor Bennett had an excellent idea of basically taking them in reverse order. So we'll do the governance item 5. We'll do that last. The other two are fairly quick, I would think. But so if we take item 7, so may I just check? These have just been handed to me as well. The item 7, we do have a supplement for the agenda. Item 7, everybody in possession thereof of the committee places. These, I think it's only hard copies, I think.
No, they're up electronically on the website as well. I've seen them.
Okay, okay, I've not done that. So was that a yes or a no? A no.
I don't need a printed copy, I've got it on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my hearing. Probably. I thought you said you couldn't see them on the screen. Okay, thank you. Are there any comments which we can take? Any questions, any comments from anybody on those items, those appointments? Councillor Davey.
Forgive me, I haven't had the chance to speak to. I thought Councillor Bick would be here. It's in relation to on the final page, in relation to the planning committee. Councillor Bix asked if we would consider whether or not Councillor Pora would be the vice chair, but we would like it to remain Councillor Bagent. Although the other thing to say on that is also with regards to the JDCC, Councillor Bick asked around representation for the Liberal Democrats. I'm happy to accede to that particular proposal, having consulted members from groups. So it would be 1 year, 1 person, 1 year, 2 people. I hope that's helpful. I'm sorry, forgive me, Karen. Councillor Young, I didn't have a chance to come see you.
That's fine. I'm aware of the discussion.
Thank you, Chair.
Are there any other comments on item 7? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That takes us going backwards to item 6, which is Honorary Freedom of the City, and I'll hand over to Dan to make that report.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, this report just outlines some background information to HMS Protector, who it is being recommended to Council to award Honorary Freedom of the City. So the report just gives some background details to that, and at the meeting on the 23rd of May, under the item where we normally have the honorary councillors, we'll also have the Honorary Freedom of the City to be granted to HMS Protector. So it's just to get Civic Affairs approval to recommend that on to Council, Chair. If you want to say any more, you have to say.
Sorry, Councillor, I can't understand what you're saying. Can you speak up a bit?
If I move it, is that a bit better now if it's closer? Okay. I was just saying that the report for the Honorary Freedom of the City will be going to the annual meeting on the 23rd of May for Council to agree to award the Honorary Freedom of the City to HMS Protector. That's in line with the Constitution. When it gets to Council, you will need a 2/3 majority to be voted through.
Does anybody wish to comment on item 6? Councillor Bennett.
My group enthusiastically supports this proposal, but we would like to note that some residents are quite bemused at why one of the furthest cities inland in the UK is giving the freedom of the city to HMS Protector. So perhaps in the comms we could explain that a little bit more. It's certainly explained to my satisfaction, but I think we need to explain it better to the city at large.
You know, actually, that makes perfect sense to me. I can understand that. And it's unusual to see naval cadets here in the city, but we do. And they're, in actual fact, they were one of the most active cadet units in the city during COVID. But what I can say is that at 3.1, as you see, it was agreed on the 21st of July 2011, an affiliation between the City of Cambridge and HMS Protector. And some of the reasons for that was because of the, especially even in those days, not so many years ago, climatic change was still high on the agenda and even higher now. And HMS Protector actually does lots of work for the British Antarctic Survey, which is based here in Cambridge. And it's in actual fact, and of course the Scott Polar Institute, so they work very carefully with them. So they have very strong ties scientifically to the city. And of course, it's also embedded in our promises to the city that we will address climatic change in a serious manner and be looking to do as much as we can as a city as a whole to improve our carbon footprint and to see publicly that we're supporting climatic change. And I think by taking this, dare I say this, on board, then it's a tangible arrangement that we actually mean what we say, and it's not going to cost the city anything. There is no actual duties that we're expected to perform with them. It is exactly what it says, an honorary freedom because of the work they do in climatic change. It's also the only icebreaker that the Royal Navy have. And just as a sideline, and you'll probably hear more about this at the AGM, that not the current captain, but the previous captain was the first female captain that the Royal Navy appointed to a vessel of this sort ever. And she visited the Guildhall here a couple of times, and we supported her wholeheartedly. And she's certainly a leader for what can be achieved by women in the Royal Navy. Councillor Davey.
Going back to your request, Councillor Bennett, we may be able to, I think, with the council rather than the Labour Party do the press release, so we could share it with you in advance so you're happy to ensure. There'll be we're inviting a small number of guests with naval connections going through the years to attend the lunch after the AGM. So if you or Councillor Young have anybody you'd like to see invited with reference to this, please could you let either the chair or myself know. Fantastic. Thank you, Chair.
But I get why some people are asking the question. I do get that. Hopefully the tide's not reached us to come into Cambridge just yet. Okay, so that takes us, sorry, I not entirely. I haven't actually asked the question, are the committee in agreement that this honorary position is granted? Sorry, that was my remiss, I'm sorry. I got carried away with the history of it, which is fabulous. So that takes us, members, to the last item, item 5, Cambridge City Council governance, and that is also on a separate note. Is everybody in possession of that? Because I know it didn't come out in the main agenda. That's the only reason I'm checking that. Everybody's happy, and everybody had a chance to read it. In that case, ladies and gentlemen, any questions? Unless, Dan, you're going to introduce this? Okay, thank you. Councillor Bennett, I'm sorry.
I've got a correction to report. Page 2, 3.3. It says for GRG, explored how well the committee system and leader cabinet models met these principles. The leader cabinet model provides the best fit. Those of us who were in the governance group will be aware that that decision was made by the Labour group and foisted on the meeting. It is not a decision of the governance review group, and I'd like that report to be corrected.
Councillor Davey.
Are you saying the majority didn't vote in favour of that proposal, Councillor Bennett?
The Labour members voted in favour, the Lib Dem and the Green members voted against.
That's not quite what I asked, Councillor Bennett. Are you saying the majority did not vote in favour of that proposal?
You are correct, the majority did vote in favour, but it's certainly not a unanimous recommendation. And I believe that I asked at that meeting to have our separate views noted and our dissent. That doesn't appear to have happened.
Just to come back, Chair, this report is for the recommendations to go through to full council. So full council will be the ones who make the decision as to whether or not they want to proceed with the recommendations to look at a revised leader and cabinet model and set up a governance design group. So at that council meeting, obviously any dissenting or voting against will be recorded at that meeting. That's the official and public version of the meeting, Chair.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chair. The Liberal Democrats are not in agreement with this change. We've been basically on a few grounds. One, that it reduces the involvement of backbenchers and also the opposition. It is designed to do that. We have been ensured that that's not the case, and but we have no details yet, and we don't know exactly how that's going to work out. So we disagree, and I will not be voting for this recommendation at the Civic Affairs Committee. And I'm not going to say anything else. I believe the better debate will be at full council. So thank you, Chair.
Dan, did you want to cut in there? I know we sort of overran with a couple of questions,
That's
but
fine.
please make your report.
No. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so just very briefly to introduce the report. Obviously, the Centre for Governance Scrutiny first came to the Council in February 2022 to review the governance arrangements at the Council. They produced a report which in their report said that the Council's current arrangements lead to lack of collective democratic accountability, was resource heavy, opaque, and didn't result in improved outcomes for the Council, and as not as inclusive as it could be with residents to engage with. Now, going through that a little bit more, some of the things that the CFGS reported, the structures, was not the thing that created good governance. It was the emphasis on culture and behaviour of members when it came to governance decisions. And there was better ways that the council could look at carrying out its governance arrangements. For members to note, the city's written constitution already incorporates the leader and cabinet form of governance and already provides for collective executive decision making. But what normally happens in practice is that the council operates what has been termed by the Centre for Governance Scrutiny a hybrid system of governance, blending the sort of leader and cabinet model plus the committee system model together, which they found to be a bit opaque and wasn't transparent. The main decision-making routes that local authorities use is the leader and cabinet model, and there's about 10 to 15% out there who use the committee system. So one of the key things that members of the GRG looked at was some design and governance principles, which is outlined in the report, and has been followed through the last couple of meetings of the GRG, which is that decision-making should be timely, prompt, focused and efficient. Decision-making is accountable, the governance system and decision-making processes are transparent, and that they encourage collaboration. So as Councillor Bennett pointed out, the GRG has met to discuss the leader and cabinet model, and also there was a presentation on the committee system that the group looked at. And the final thing to say is that the recommendations for the committee at the moment is for Civic Affairs to recommend to full council as the main decision maker to implement a revised leader and cabinet model of decision making, and authorises the chief executive to enable those changes to be implemented from the annual meeting in May 2025, and to establish a member design group with external technical support to develop this model, which will include a number of things such as the rewriting of the constitution, looking at the civic calendar, training that members will be able to attend, officers to attend that training, communications, and all those sort of areas that make up a change to any sort of governance model, hence why the council is looking at doing this over the course of a year, because it is quite a lot of work to be doing in that period of time. Just to sort of say there are opportunities within the leader and cabinet model for enhanced roles for non-executive councillors, the scrutiny committees themselves within the leader and cabinet models. They should be owning their work programme and looking at challenging the executive when it comes to those big key items that will affect residents across the city, and that will be a key tool that they will have. And members of scrutiny committees within the leader and cabinet model are unwhipped, so they should be free from any party whips that they may be having, so they'll be able to come to those scrutiny committees with an open mind and looking at those really big key items that will affect residents. So that's a very, very short introduction, Chair. I'm happy to take any further questions and members for comments.
Thank you for that, Dan. Councillor Davey and Councillor Shield.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's probably important to go back and reflect what we're actually proposing. This is not about implementing a new cabinet scrutiny model. This is about working towards implementing that, which will give the opposition parties considerable opportunity not only to contribute, but to actually have a proper democratic debate on at least 2 more occasions prior to implementation of any model. I think it's really important that we move on. It's over 2 years since we got the Centre for Governance Studies report, and to do nothing means we carry on with a system that is unique in the local government systems across the United Kingdom. So we have to take somewhere. We have to move somewhere. And I think publicly I'd want to applaud Martin Smart's work in trying to work collaboratively with all parties and people within our own group to find a way forward. So I think that's my first point. The second point is that clearly there has been a lot of debate on a whole range of levels. For us, it may surprise you, it's important for our backbenchers and the opposition to be able to scrutinise what the executive actually does. And at the moment, there is no opportunity to do that. It's actually not scrutiny what we do. What happens is, to an extent, in my view, people are whipped into performing a certain way. In the future, under the proposals, under the scrutiny, depending upon the detail, which is yet to be clear, what we would be looking for is the opportunity for scrutiny to actually work effectively, so the backbenchers in our party and the opposition parties are actually properly able to scrutinise what's going on, rather than become, in essence, lobby fodder. So that will require us to look at detail, and until we approve this, we can't actually get into the detail. All we've got is a system that's not fit for purpose, that we knew wasn't fit for purpose 3 years ago. So I would ask you to then reflect upon that and look at what's actually proposing, i.e. that we put together some work to bring proposals back to the democratic process for approval at a later date. And that is what this paper is about. Thank you very much, Chair.
Councillor Shield.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yes, great report, Dan. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to comparing and contrasting the experience of the two ways, if a different way is implemented. And I would like to back up what Councillor Davey has said about involvement. It's my understanding that there will be more opportunity for backbenchers to be there at the point where there is policy formation, and before a time when political groups have asked their members to project a certain idea at a later stage, that it is inevitably a part of the scrutiny committee system that we have now. So just to pick up Councillor Young's point, I understand the reservation and the worry, but I really think this could be an opportunity actually to have the rank and file people such as us there at the creative stage in a way. I hope that's I hope I'm right to take that idea from all this, and if I could be very cheeky and make one small request. This is already an excellent report, but what would make it a super duper polished report is if, just for my sake, could we have decision making always with a hyphen? I like the way it does have a hyphen increasingly towards the end, but if we could just have consistency across all the decision making mentions, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Just indulge me. But yeah, great work. Thank you.
Councillor Young, Councillor Bennett, anything to respond? Councillor Bennett, please.
I think that we will be saving most of our ammunition for the annual council meeting. I think we've all decided how we're going to vote.
Councillor Young.
Just to say, I mean, I would agree that we cannot stay, with Councillor Davey, we cannot stay with the system we have now. So that's definitely not the Liberal Democrat position. We do definitely need to change. I just question the direction of change. Yeah, and also, I mean, I omitted to say, but the process has been very collaborative, but the decision at the end has not, we've failed to be convinced in the Liberal Democrat side. So, agree, it's been a very, it's been a very friendly and productive discussion, but ultimately we've failed to be convinced. And the detail would be good. So, yeah.
No response, Councillor Davey, you happy?
Only the comments are honest and generous. What can I say? I think the detail is what we're looking for, and I think what I'm hoping is this report will enable us to get to the detail, so we can. I think we're all looking for a better system where we're all looking, and I'm trying to make the point as clearly as possible. We think better scrutiny is the key to this, and that's as much for our backbenchers as it is for opposition parties, because then it enhances government rather than diminishes it.
Any other comments before we go to recommendations? Okay, in that case, recommendations are on page 2 on the item 7 supplement. And there are 2 recommendations at 2.1, and I'll just read just a little bit of each one just to highlight those. And the last sentences of both of those I'll read. Section 1 says, authorises the Chief Executive to enable changes to be implemented from the annual council meeting in May 2025, not next week, 2025. And item 2 says, with final proposals, including an updated constitution being presented to Civic Affairs and then to full council for adoption. So if that helps the opposition councillors, there's still some way to go there. You've still got plenty of time to speak, and to have your say and to put in your points. This is just the start of this process. So there's no, as far as I can see, there's no intent to cut anybody out. So this is all this is a proposal to bring to council that we can carry on with this exercise, and there'll be plenty of time to scrutinise it. Would you agree with that, Councillor David?
That's the intent.
Thank you so much. In that case, members, if I could just go to the vote on those recommendations. All those in favour?
That's 4, Chair.
And against?
That's 2. So that's 4 for and 2 against, therefore. Have been agreed and will go to council next.
Thank you so much, everyone. And in actual fact, as far as I can see, that concludes today's business. So thank you so much for turning up today, and we'll see each other next week. Thank you very much.